Hi guys, welcome to today's lesson. So this is going to be the first in a series of sessions which will be covering a copy of a fairly traditional still life. It's a 19th century still life. Originally a painting, but we're going to be copying it in mixed media essentially, but primarily charcoal, pencil, charcoal dust, plus maybe a little bit of heightening with white paint. We're going to see how we go with it. We're going to be beginning with charcoal and sort of keep it fairly experimental. As always, the first thing that I want to start with, and this week is going to be the focus, we're just going to be blocking in the overall shapes in the image, just like we always do. So the reference is available if you're a student of OCAD, otherwise it's up on the screen as I'm working. But it's basically a black and white version of a reference that I got from the Met Museum collection website, which is a great source for references if you want to do master copies, which is always a great way to practice your skills. And I've cropped the paper to exactly the same size, so the image that I'm working from and the paper are the same, so that makes it fairly straightforward if you're working alongside. And it's going to be a bit looser than we sometimes work this one, so we're going to be sort of starting from a really loose base and then gradually working towards parts of it being more finished, whereas a lot of the workshops that I run for OCAD, they're a bit more sort of very kind of detailed all the way through, but we're going to be a bit looser with this one. So you can use the sort of side of the charcoal. We're going to be using a mixture, as I say, of different types of media. So I'm starting out just with this shape of the ham in the middle. So I think the painting's called a plate of ham or something, something imaginative like that. And pretty much everywhere behind the ham is pretty dark, and then that connects to this container on the right hand side. So that I might have gone a little bit too far there. So I can just wipe it back with my hand with this kind of charcoal. So we're using very soft charcoal at the moment. Possibly it's a little bit too far over as well on this side, so I might bring that back over a little bit more. So I'm thinking about the ellipses inside this little sort of jar I'm blocking in now. And this is it's going to make a fairly kind of nice painting in its own right, but it's also a good exercise to practice for creating your own studies for drawings or paintings. This kind of method of application. So I'm just getting the shape of the knife now, resting over. Can wipe that out because we need a little bit of space for the silver. So I'm starting to create some division between values, probably a bit faster than we normally would. But I'm doing so in a pretty loose manner, and obviously leaving quite a lot of scope for, you know, they're going to go a lot, most of these values are going to go a lot darker that we're already blocking in. But our main focus today is just getting pretty solid initial little sort of sketch in place. And we're not going, as I say, we're not going for a super accurate sort of version. It's going to be a bit looser, this painting, than we normally create in these series. going to shorten the this pot a little bit. You can just sort of re-alter the shape up top as well, because I want to make space for this napkin shape, which I'm only going to, as I say, really loosely block in. And I've got this ring running around it, and this letter resting that makes its way up and crosses that plate. So that's not doing too badly as a block in. Got a little bit more to get. I think this paper is probably the last bit. It's ended up slightly sort of more cramped, the cropping, but that's inevitable if you're kind of working a bit more loosely. So there's a little bit of the kind of front tabletop, but that's no big deal. Still get a slight sense of it across here. So now that all the shapes are roughly blocked in, I'm going to just go in with some slightly heavier tones at this stage. Still working loosely with the charcoal though, always working pretty loosely with it. But anywhere where there's a kind of super dark tone, I'm just going in and darkening further. Well, as much as is necessary. So any edges that I lose, can find back again. I definitely want this very dark glass to be pretty much as dark as I can get it at the moment. Now with the silver, we're just going to be very loosely suggestive. It's going to take a bit of time in the next few weeks to develop it, but you can sort of start to get a little bit of a sense of its sort of reflectiveness, even just with how much detail as you can see. Probably about that much is all we want from this stage. So just an establishment of the general shapes, and we can go in and really mess around with it a lot more next week. But just gives you a slightly different kind of way of going in and applying tone, because usually we're quite kind of refined the way that we add stuff in. And that's a much more kind of loose approach, loose application. But yeah, that's what we're going for as our start for this drawing. And then we're going to be kind of building over it and working it a lot. So we might lose it and it'll come back, but we're kind of trying to build a lot more texture. So it's sort of like a textural approach is what we're after. But yeah, that's it for this week. And I'll see you guys next week. As always, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up to date with all these sessions that I run, and if you want feedback from myself and other expert tutors, you can sign up to the OCAD studio on the website. But yeah, that's it, and I'll see you guys soon.